Hello, how are
Hey,
you? Thank you
hey,
so much.
Guive. How are things?
Very good. And you, Nick?
Good. You're in New York.
Good. I'm in Paris, actually.
Oh, okay. You moved around. Excellent. Okay.
Yes.
So, Guive, Marcia has had 15 minutes of fame or 10 minutes, so
Yes.
we'll let you have a bit of space. Can you talk us through, in somewhere between broad brushstrokes and minute detail, what the L'Oreal Technology Incubator does?
Sure, yeah. I joined the company about 13 and a half years ago. So I'm actually an academic to begin with. And they gave me this job around 9 years ago, which was how can we find a way to intersect beauty and technology? So it was at a time when there were no beauty companies at the Consumer Electronics Show, and it was a very new space. But we had seen a lot of innovation in the health industry and other industries, and we thought, it could be interesting to kind of develop a team that was in the middle between technology and beauty. And so my job was to kind of build that, and it was a very exciting time because it was a blank page. At the same time, it was it was an undertaking because I didn't really know where we were going to go. And so we kind of started by building projects, and basically now I have a team around the world, kind of like a startup that work between external and internal stakeholders to develop beauty tech projects.
Okay. Before we get, can you talk a little bit? I mean, in terms of the technology, I know you talk a lot about diagnosis, and I wanted to talk about diagnostic technology and how that has figured in some of your developments and the technology you've developed.
Well, I think for the way we're looking right now around technology is we're trying to find ways that we can solve problems that have been around for hundreds or thousands of years. So, consumer tensions in beauty have been things that have been around for a long time. We're not creating new tensions or creating new consumer um, uh, areas to solve. We're trying to solve them with technology. And so to do that, one of the key areas is getting data. And the data is about measurement science, really. It's more about measuring things like measuring the skin tone of people. When you look at it, for example, I can give examples. 50% of women today can't get the right shade of foundation. So, there's just always going to be way more skin tones than there will be the space for products on the shelf with different colors for foundation. So, by using measurement tools like colorimeters and spectrometers to take measurements, and eventually the smartphone with AI, and then linking that with a personalized product and being able to bring some type of high quality, tailor-made product, but at a mass level, is really kind of the one of the big areas that we're investing in when it comes to beauty tech. So, in order to make a perfect product, you have to measure a personalized information about the consumer, and that's part of what we do. So it's kind of that bridge between physical and digital that helps us create, and we hope to create new services that can really bring the consumer performance to a new level in beauty.
And can you talk a little bit very quickly about Perso, the kind of latest development?
Sure. Yeah, so Perso is a little device that we have. It's a handheld device, and it's exactly what I was talking about, physical and digital. So it's a handheld device that has three cartridges inside, and it can make lipstick, skincare, and foundation. So, not to bore, as we have not a huge amount of time, I'll just use the lipstick as an example. So basically, you put three cartridges inside. You turn on the Perso app. And what it allows the consumer to do is to go through all the trends that are out there on their Instagram or on areas that they're looking at in terms of influencers. And if there's a shade of lipstick that they like, they can look at that shade immediately on the application in real time, like a mirror with augmented reality. And then if they like that shade, they just click create. And then on the top of the little Perso device, it will have just the right amount of each pigment so you can mix it and get that perfect shade. And so, when we first started that project, our idea was let's give people the ability to shade they want. But the reality is that people want to be part of a trend and want to be the beginning of a trend. So it's more about curation and recommendation. And so we spent a lot of time on the digital part to ensure that this kind of magical experience at the end could be really something new. So we're very excited about it. It's a project that will launch on the market next year, and it's one of our new ones that we put at the Consumer Electronics Show this year. So
Great. And Marcia, before we get into the kind of nitty-gritty of the mechanics of innovation, the kind of technology that Guive's talking about, particularly kind of personalization and kind of diagnostics or somewhere near diagnostics, is that something you're looking at with Beauty Pie? I mean, devices as well as, you know, the online kind of interaction?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at different electronic devices. Nothing right now at the moment that is mixing up colors. We're really focused in our business model on how we can bring a better pricing for a luxury product. And I think it's so important to focus, of course, on what you do and then what you don't do. And we're really focusing at the moment on making sure our supply chain is perfect and that we're doing everything in terms of making sure that her user journey is smooth. And, we're still in that real startup phase. So I suppose in a few more years, we'll try and nip at Guive's heels. But for now, no.
Okay. So, okay, good, big picture innovation. In the crudest terms, you're kind of these two models of innovator, the kind of serial entrepreneur, and Guive, you're the kind of in-house tech and innovation kind of scout and shepherd, if you can be a scout and a shepherd at the same time. When you listen to each other, do you feel like you have very different approaches in terms of the tools you use and the approach you use, or are there more similarities?
well, maybe I can just start to say I was. Oh, sorry. Please, you, Marcia, please.
No, you please. No, please, you first.
Oh, okay. No, just to say I got a lot of time to listen to Marcia before. Very inspirational, and I think a incredible journey that you've had creating all those startups. And to be honest, I've met so many entrepreneurs. And really, in the end, it's the way of working, it's the way of seeing the world, it's the values that you have. And those are shared among whether or not we're at a large company trying to do something new or entrepreneurs trying to create their own company. So I do feel a connection, even if we're in different potential markets of beauty. In the end, we're trying to do the same thing, which is to make people's lives better and to make beauty more inclusive and everybody. So I see a lot of commonality. I don't know, Marcia, if you agree.
No, I absolutely agree. I think anytime you're trying to do something radical or new, and in both of our worlds, I suppose it's about approaching that every day and trying to create something new for the customer. You've got to be resilient. You have to be really disciplined. You've got to be brave. You've got to be open-minded. And no matter what, anytime you're trying to lead, you need those traits. So you see very eye to eye with people who are doing the same thing and just trying to innovate, whether they're innovating just from the technology side alone, not that it's alone because that's huge and difficult, or if they're innovating from the product side or anywhere. It requires the same kind of human spirit, I think, across all venues.
Guive, just turning back to you quickly, I know you have a team, I think, of 40 across the 4 labs, and a pretty interesting mix of people you've included. I mean, so can you just talk us through what kind of people you feel like you need to have in the mix to cover the bases you need to cover and to spot the things you need to spot?
Sure. Yeah, I have this incredible team. I must say it was one of the biggest joys of my career is building this team because I actually am a biologist at training, so I didn't really know a lot about tech, even though I grew up in San Francisco. So I guess I fooled everybody. But part of that is like I was able to kind of build a team that I felt was diverse to kind of tackle these projects. So I went at it in a different angle. So half of the team are engineers. So the typical engineers you would see in a tech, so coming from Apple and other companies like Google and Amazon. And half of the engineers are women and half are men. So I'm really happy that we have that level of diversity. And then the second half of my team are people that come from all walks of life. So UX designers, UI designers, I have marketing people, I have a packaging person, I have someone who's in digital, and I've been. It's kind of odd. I've had this very unique and humbling career in a sense that I was able to kind of create this team, which is, almost really like a startup. So we have people that are mixed together. And by doing that, we don't just take an engineering view on the projects that we have. We take a view that's really holistic, because we have to think in beauty about not just the device itself or the tool, but how we will add value, the formulas we will bring, understanding consumer expectations and users from different cultures and around the world. So putting all of these people together, what we do is we kind of have everybody be a project manager, whether they're very junior or very senior, with the stakeholders like industrials, engineering firms, digital teams, and internal people like our marketing and our research. And they kind of play the orchestra of all of that to create these projects. So I think that was really the key recipe to the success we've had so far.
And Marcia, what about you? The people you feel like you need to have around you, and has that changed?
I think most important for me, and I find it very funny, but people will say I'm intimidating, which I don't understand at all. But I suppose for some people I am, and especially because I've been around for quite a long time now. For some of the younger people, and you tend to get younger people in tech and in startups, it can be difficult for them. And so I find that one of the most important characteristics is someone who is willing to argue their point, and who is willing to stand up and be brave and to debate things with me instead of nodding every time that I say something. So, again, those traits of people who are resilient, if we fail, just get back up and do it again. There's a great speech or talk that Denzel Washington gave about just, get shot 9 times and get up 10. And that's how you get there. So I look for people who are really resilient, because it's tough out there every day. People who will argue a point, and we don't care who's right or wrong, but they're going to bring everything they've got to the table every time that they're asked to, and they're not worried to speak up or look silly or just be a dreamer, because it is that dissenting viewpoint that's going to get us farther faster. And so if you're not able to get into a conversation and sit at that table and make yourself heard, then you're not going to add that much value. And then, of course, most important for me anyways, just people who are radically open-minded. We all have to be able to step back at any given moment and not be inside our company and look at what we're doing as if, does anyone even care about this, and try and reset how important something that we might be working on really is to our customers, because you can really go native very easily. So I think having people who are radically open-minded, who you can throw ideas at and who will come back and say, you know what, yeah, I see that. And it might be totally different to what you said yesterday, but are willing to bandy that around and not get too stuck in any particular thought, is really important in a business like ours.
And for both of you, and Marcia, you kind of touched on this on your talk earlier, but I want to get inside the kind of scanning process, this scanning for ideas and opportunities, and then the testing and modeling, whether this thing is viable, workable, scalable. Can you just get a little bit inside the mechanics of that process? Marcia first, maybe.
Well, Guive would probably not agree with me on this one, maybe, because I'm sure he loves data, and I love data as well. So I think, the gut instinct versus the data. When I'm coming up with a new idea, I really do believe that your gut and your brain are almost the same thing. Now, it's almost connected, right? And there's more and more science now coming out showing that, if there's something wrong in your gut, you can have issues with depression, or issues. Your brain will struggle if your gut is not in good shape, and they're linking it more and more scientifically every day. So when people talk about is gut data, I actually feel like your gut instinct is a bunch of data that you don't exactly know how to quantify, or maybe you can't put it into words yet. There has been no methodology for putting your gut instinct down on paper as a bunch of numbers, but you have to listen to it just as much as you have to listen to the numbers that you've got, because numbers are about yesterday, right? And gut is about tomorrow. So someone said to me once, who was a footwear consultant, this was a long time ago, but it was just such a great line. I always remember it. He said, you know what? Buyers are experts at yesterday, and data is measuring yesterday. What already happened is not telling us what might be. So if you want to create newness, you still have to be out there, feeling like there might be opportunity and listening to that gut instinct, or else we'll just all be experts about yesterday.
And Guive?
I couldn't agree more. Actually, believe it or not, Marcia, I'm not the kind of person that I look at a lot of data. I actually agree with you on a lot of things, especially on the resilience. I mean, you can only imagine what it's like to be an American in the French largest beauty company in the world, trying to prove that tomorrow people will use tools to personalize their products. And resilience has been something that I don't know. I've had a lot of people say you have Gandhi-like patience, and I always take that as a compliment. I'm not sure if it is. But you have to be resilient. And on your point about the data, I take a very radical view on it too, at least internally, because our company, we use a lot of insight to create projects. And I think it makes sense when you're doing things like you want the next mascara that lasts a little bit longer, or the lipstick that can wear more. But if you're trying to create something new for the user, for the world, I can't pick my projects as a function of insight. I can make sure that they are well suited for our users. So I don't choose my projects based on data. I choose them based on very interesting people I have, like people on my team, entrepreneurs outside. I'll have random conversations, and I'm very infamous for this internally, of not having a process of coming up with ideas. And I'm not sure it's the right way, but it's very organic for me. The one thing I've learned over the past 15 years is that once I have that idea, there are stages where I feel like I understand what a consumer wants with that specific tech that we're creating. And I realize that I'm taking a very narrow-minded view. So I will then bring in some data to understand how to ensure that whatever experience we're creating around a specific idea really meets people's needs. But to be honest, I have the same approach. I go with my gut, and sometimes it's wrong, but we've been right more than we've been wrong. So so far, it's the only way that I can really do it, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
To both of you, Marcia, obviously Beauty Pie is a DTC brand, and Guive, you've talked about pretty much everything being about DTC at the moment in terms of your focus. And these two ideas crop up in DTC: personalization and community. These seem like the two kind of. But can you do both at the same time in a very simple way? Personalization and community, they seem like opposing ideas. So how do you do both?
That's a great question. I think at the moment, what we're really focusing on at Beauty Pie is community, and really just listening to our customers, and that idea of having an open source platform, which we look at Beauty Pie as sort of an open source beauty company. And that is the idea behind the personalization that we can offer right now. Because we poll our customers on social media, and we look at what she's buying and what she's not buying, and it works very quickly. We can see what people are rating products, which ones are selling the fastest, which ones aren't selling anymore, move things in and move things out. We've literally had polls where we ask people, we've made this candle, here's what it smells like. Would you like it to be named A, B, C, or D? Or we're launching these 4 candles. Which ones are you going to buy, and in which order? And then people vote, and we get those, and we will use it for forecasting, inventory control, buying, all of those things. And it's incredibly accurate just by allowing people to sort of have that input into the creation process, into the naming process, and they love it. So for what we can do at the moment with the tech that we've got, and the stage that we're at, it's actually been a wonderful process being able to personalize the club by letting her be a part of what we're creating.